Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Direct Store Delivery for Android webinar. We appreciate you attending today. My name is Georgia Brown. I am the Director of Marketing here at ExtenData and will be your moderator for today's webinar. Our main presenter is Mr. Darrell Wilson, our Senior Solutions Architect and Product Manager here at ExtenData.
Hello, everyone.
And I'd like to give a shout out and a big thank you to our sponsors and partners, Honeywell and Blue Star. Without their participation, this webinar would not have been possible today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgia. And thanks again for everyone who's joined us today. We at ExtenData are very excited about the release of our MobileConductor Android program and the DSD solution that goes with that. So really, the agenda that we've got today is to talk about, why did ExtenData move to Android, and what does that mean? Optimizing workflow, things we've been able to accomplish with Android that we may not have been able to do with Windows. Increased device options, a lot more options out there nowadays. Integration improvements with the mobile application, and then the MobileConductor DSD business justifications. So let's start with just a little bit of history. MobileConductor, our DSD solution, was first launched in 2006. And in 2006, everything was very Microsoft-centric. Those were the top development platforms, and not to mention Windows Mobile was really the dominant, if not really the only viable option for a mobile operating system at that time. So when we built out MobileConductor, we utilized the best of the best from Microsoft for both our server side as well as the mobile component. And at that time, that was really the best thing to do. But a lot has changed in 2006, or since 2006. MobileConductor, is really a proven and awarded solution in the industry today. And it's important to us to keep that moving forward. So why Android? If you think about the fact that Android was basically made available to the public toward the end of 2008, and since that time has really become the most dominant and widely used mobile operating system in the world. So, with the proliferation of Android out into the market, not just for consumers but also for businesses, it really made a lot of sense. So when we look at other mobile operating systems, iOS from Apple is an obvious one. And why didn't we go that way? Really, it comes down to, what devices can run these operating systems. There are so many options that are running Android. It really was the clear choice. So making the move to Android, we had a lot of things to think about and consider in this process. We built a very solid solution. We've learned a lot through the process of deploying many implementations of MobileConductor DSD to our customers, and we wanted to leverage as much of that as we possibly could. We didn't really want to just start from scratch with this, so we needed to come up with a process and a plan for utilizing what we've learned and much of the code that we had, but be able to move that to the Android operating system. So in that process, we found some industry-wide tools that we could utilize to leverage a lot of that existing code and deploy a solution that could be implemented on Android, as well as give us the options to move toward iOS or Windows Phone 8 in the future. So our next topic on optimized workflow, really this was one of those things that, again, looking at what we'd learned through deploying many different implementations across a variety of different industries, we wanted to do everything we could to make the application as user-friendly, easy to use, as few clicks, and as flexible as we could to support not only the needs and requirements of our existing customers, but of new customers coming along and taking advantage of much of what people are getting used to in utilizing their Android devices. Ultimately, the goal here is higher user acceptance. So really, one of the things that we took into mind was the ability to utilize a lot of familiar Android functions. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of them here because there are many things that we've gotten used to with that. But the first is the idea of, being able to scroll up and down through a list, not necessarily have to grab a grab bar and scroll up and down just with that, but with your finger move that up and down. Likewise, being able to select something from a list that same way by just tapping on it. The next thing I wanted to point out is the ability to support a variety of different input methods. So not only can we do check boxes and drop downs and text boxes like we always could, but also support the ability to show different types of keyboards for the different types of input that might be necessary. And again, most Android devices don't have a keyboard, except for some of the offerings from our ruggedized manufacturers. But really, we got a lot of flexibility with that. That also enables us to utilize some voice input functions that, again, come kind of standard with the Android operating system. So instead of having to type a note, you can actually speak a note and save it that way. The last thing I wanted to point out here is really the concept of what's called a hint. And if you look at that last screenshot, you'll see under sale quantity where it says sold and delivered, under scrap quantity where it says scrap or dump. Basically, those are hints. It's basically information that we can put into the input field to help the user understand what type of data is supposed to go into that field. And of course, once there's values entered into those fields, those hints go away. So again, a lot of great options to help improve usability. Another scenario really is the scenario or the option of optimizing workflow with screen configurability. And one of the things that we accomplished that we're really proud of with our Android offering is the ability to basically change things around on a screen with just configuration. We can add or remove buttons, move them around. We can add or remove text, change headings. We can do all that with configuration where we couldn't necessarily do that before. So with this screen here, you can see kind of a new DSD main menu and our old DSD main menu. With that, I can fully configure the Android one where I was really limited with what I've got in Windows. The other thing you'll see there is the ability to tie in with other applications on the device and make those available from certain screens as well. So, and again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in our integration improvements topic. Another scenario with this is the ability to optimize the flow with, again, using functions with Android that we couldn't necessarily do with Windows. So if you look at these two ticket detail screens on the left with Android, I can use my finger to scroll through the items on my list, and if I want to edit, I can just click on that with my finger. If I want to remove it, I can click and hold and confirm that I want to remove it. Which eliminates the necessity to have a edit and delete button. A lot of other functions like that. One of the things we tried to do is move some things around in this interface, our default interface, so that the buttons are up top. They're easy to see. We've got graphics that we can associate with those. So again, a lot of things that help make it easier to understand what a button is intending to do or a function is intending to do. So as we move on to our next topic of increased device options, this is, if you think about what we had with Windows Mobile, it was a pretty limited set of devices. We worked primarily with our partners, Intermec, Honeywell, and others that offered ruggedized devices utilizing the Windows Mobile operating system. These devices obviously provide the ability to be dropped. They could get wet. They would have Bluetooth scanning. different functionalities like that that the average or consumer-grade Windows mobile device, just didn't have. But these devices were, there's just a limited set of those. These devices were also pretty limited as far as what people were doing with them. Generally, when we deployed a Windows mobile device, MobileConductor was primarily all that was running on it. That is not necessarily the case with Android today. So again, our partners, they're providing ruggedized Android devices, that again utilize a lot of those same features that the Windows mobile devices did, where they've got IP65 specs. They can be dropped, they can get wet, different things like that. Also, they have keyboard options that you're generally not going to find on a standard consumer-grade device. And then, one of the more important features of being able to utilize a laser scanner or an imager for scanning barcodes. So a lot of different great functionality moving in that direction. And then likewise, Android, MobileConductor for Android is not built specifically to just run on one set of devices. So the consumer-grade devices that are out there, phones and tablets, MobileConductor can run on those as well. Pretty much anything that's running Android version 4 or better can be supported with MobileConductor. This creates a ton of options for companies that want to utilize an existing set of phones that they've issued to their employees, or if they want to look at utilizing a tablet, so that you've got a lot more screen real estate, different things you can do with that. Those options are really available now. Whereas with Windows Mobile, that was never a very good option, and really tablets, Windows Mobile tablets were never, widely deployed anyway. So a ton of device options out there that really broaden what a company can do utilizing a device in the hands of their drivers and sales folks. So some great options there. Oh, excuse me, I just needed a drink real fast. All right, so one of our last topics is integration improvements. And really this is focused on looking at device application integration. So if you think about what the different applications we run on our Android phones or tablets today, there are thousands and thousands of applications. They're not all games, obviously. There's a lot of different business applications, traffic and weather, just a lot of different resources out there that you can tap into on your Android device. Well, with Windows Mobile, we did do a little bit of that sort of integration, but it was very limited. One, because there weren't a lot of applications out there that had any sort of APIs or other functionality that would allow us to really tie in with those, exchange some information, and in some cases make that look like a single application. We did do that type of development with XRS and Turnpike, but there are a lot of other applications that would have been nice to be able to do that with that we just couldn't. So very limited options that way with Windows Mobile. With Android, it's really a totally different world. We have so many different ways that we can actually access these applications. One way is that we can just call that application or the intent for that application, open that up, let you do whatever in that application that you need to do, and then just when you back out, you come back into MobileConductor. So that makes it very simple integration, and we can make that call with just about any application that's running on the device. Another scenario is to be able to utilize APIs for these other applications and call certain functions to either push or pull data between the other application and MobileConductor, and in many cases make that interface look like a single interface. We do have an integration with XRS and their Android application where we can do all the hours of service functionality, and really it only functions out of MobileConductor. You don't have to jump back and forth between the XRS application and MobileConductor. We're working on a similar functionality in integration with International Telematics and their iBright solution, and we've already done some integration with Copilot to support vehicle-specific mapping and navigation, so that you can actually do, versus Google Maps a lot of times just directs things like you're driving a normal car. So a lot of different great ways that we can work with those applications. Our last option really is to be able to subscribe to other applications on the device and just get feeds of data, kind of like an alert, that we can either display for the user or capture into other parts of the transaction. So a lot of great options as it relates to integrating with other applications. And really this drives us to one of the things that we've been working hard on throughout 2014 and into 2015, and that is the ability to utilize a single device in the cab of a truck to support all the different applications that a driver may need to use, whether that's DSD, whether that's proof of delivery, whether that's mapping or navigation, time card functionality. All those things we can tie into a single device and a single interface that we can, again, make it easy for these users to utilize these applications and capture a lot more information to support the management of those operations. So our last thing we wanted to review is the business justifications behind the MobileConductor DSD solution. And really, these are key in that, from one industry to another, some of these will really resonate, but ultimately all these are extremely important. The first of these is improving delivery and return accuracy and pricing. And really what that means is that because a driver or a salesperson is utilizing a handheld to capture quantities and an application that already has the pricing for those items that are being sold or delivered, the ability for the solution to automatically calculate and update pricing, capturing accurate quantities on what's delivered and what's being returned. There's just a huge improvement in accuracy across the board with that. Increasing order-to-cash velocity and clean invoicing. Every invoice or delivery ticket or even a return ticket the MobileConductor creates, it's a clean ticket, meaning that the driver didn't have to scratch anything off or rewrite a quantity or recalculate a price or anything else. What gets printed or emailed at the completion of these tickets is exactly what was captured. It's clear, it's easy to work with, and it speeds up the ability to get paid by your customers. Customer service and gaining a competitive advantage by enabling drivers and sales folks with a solution like MobileConductor DSD. You've got the ability to give them all the tools they need to provide the best possible customer service in the field, not to mention with the data that's being captured and stored on the back end of that customer service in your office has the ability to see exactly what was done, review notes and pictures from these folks out in the field, and utilize that information to, again, continue to provide the best possible customer service. That gives you an advantage over your competition. Reduction or elimination of driver and back office administrative paperwork. When the data that's collected is all electronic, there is a lot less need for printed reports and paper when the driver is coming back at the end of the day. Obviously, we can support that, but in the ability to give managers and clerks the ability to open up and view the activity for a given route and utilize the information there to, reconcile anything that's come back from the drivers is again, an increase in efficiency. Higher revenue or lower cost per route. Really with an optimized and efficient workflow, this means more sales and less returns. By optimizing the process for your field workers, it's entirely possible to add stops to routes because you're saving time with handwritten tickets and a driver having to pull out a calculator and recalculate things. you're freeing up time in that driver's day, which either gets him back to the office earlier or it enables you to give him another stop or two on his route on any given day. In addition to that, by capturing good information as far as what is on hand at a store, what's being delivered, and knowing what's on order and different build to or par levels, a lot of times we can reduce the number of returns by forecasting or providing a value for the driver on what they ought to be delivering or ordering for that customer. And anytime you've got a reduction in your returns, that's more money in your pocket. Vehicle inventory management, the ability to do loading, tracking what's sold or returned, being able to do a physical or cycle count, and then do a settlement at the end of the day, all that equates to a reduced inventory shrink. So the ability to track the inventory that's going on the truck at the start of the day, that's gone off and on throughout the day, and then what's being counted at the end of the day gives you visibility throughout the entire transactional process through the day to keep track of where a product is going. Anytime you have less shrinkage of inventory on a truck or a route, again, that's more savings to you. Tracking of assets, this is really the concept of keeping track of crates, milk crates, totes, trays, pallets, racks, anything you can think of that are your assets that are necessary for your drivers in their process out working with your customers. These assets, they have a value to them, and you need to keep track of those. And MobileConductor allows you to track not only what you've delivered, but also what you're picking up, and keep track of that throughout the process to see where you might be losing some of these items. And then lastly is really the ability to stay in line with regulatory compliance, such as the Food Safety Modernization Act. So that concludes my part of this, and Georgia, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, great, thank you. So everybody, we have a question feature within GoToWebinar. So please, at this time, if you have any questions, utilize that to send in your questions for Darrell. While that's happening, I just wanted to say, Darrell, thank you for that information. And you spoke briefly about our one device in the cab solution, and I wanted to emphasize to our viewers that this, currently we're utilizing this one device in the cab for our proof of delivery customers, but I'm really excited to see how this works for our direct store delivery customers. Do you have any additional input that you wanted to provide everybody about one device in the cab, Darrell?
Sure. One device in the cab is really the concept, as I mentioned before, of trying to leverage the device that's been put in the truck to support all the different applications that the driver might need to access. So, typically with our proof of delivery customers, one of the primary pieces that they need on these devices is access to an hours of service application for keeping track of DOT, regulations as far as the hours that their drivers are working. Any time that is a necessity for a DSD environment, we can certainly support that. Tends to be less of an issue because most of the time the drivers are working within a closer area of the warehouse. But there are so many other applications that could be utilized for this that would apply to not only POD but certainly DSD customers as well. And that could be again utilizing a mapping or navigation application. And again, sometimes Google Maps might be a good option for that, but there are certainly some other solutions that we can provide so that the navigation is truck specific. That can be a great tool. We're working at trying to implement some ability to provide some weather alerts and reporting, traffic just by itself, even if you're not doing navigation, the ability to open up a traffic application. There's so many different things that we can open up with utilizing this device, this one device in the cab.
Okay, so we have a few questions, and one of the questions is, what is ExtenData's intention regarding Windows Mobile deployed base of customers? So I would assume that, are we going to continue supporting Windows Mobile MobileConductor?
Certainly, that is a great question. We are absolutely going to continue to support the Windows Mobile solution. There's a lot of folks, our customers and others out there who have a fair amount of resources, tied into the equipment that they've purchased at one point or another, and they're not really ready to give that up. So our Windows Mobile solution is certainly not going anywhere at this point in time. One of the things that's great about the approach that we've taken is that we can implement Android basically in the same environment that Windows Mobile is already deployed, and it could be a mixed environment, which really one of the intents there was to help people in that migration process of moving from Windows Mobile to Android and not necessarily having to cut one off and start up another. So ExtenData will continue to improve our Windows Mobile solution, but clearly we'll spend as much time as we can improving and building out more and more functionality for Android.
Great. So, and I heard you kind of cover this question already, but just to make sure that we've addressed it, is does the server or hosting have to be moved to an Android-based system, or does it integrate with an existing Windows server?
Yeah, with the MobileConductor solution, the two primary components are our MobileConductor server and then the mobile application. Basically, the MobileConductor server has only been built onto to add in the support for Android. So, if you're going to deploy Android, the primary requirement from that side would be that we, made sure that you were on the latest and greatest version of that, so that all of the configuration functionality that's associated with Android is there. And again, that would support your existing Windows Mobile implementation, but allow us to start the process of configuration for the Android solution. So basically the answer is no need for a server change, only just to upgrade version of MobileConductor.
Okay. And then we have a question about printing. How does Android work with printing?
Well, it's a little bit different, but it's still similar, meaning that we're still printing through Bluetooth. We're not able to use some of the old APIs that we used with Windows Mobile, but we're currently building those out to support primarily the mobile printers that we had been utilizing with Zebra and with O'Neill. So again, the ability to print directly from the mobile device is absolutely supported. Even though we are seeing, more and more people with an interest in just emailing a ticket, via PDF, basically at the point of completion versus printing, but we will always support both.
Okay. And then our final question is it possible, oh, we got more, but is it possible to acquire a demo Android unit to test with? We're working on that, depending upon, really probably the best solution would be to touch base with an account manager, or if you don't have one, Georgia Brown, because she can get you set up with someone. But then we can walk through the process of determining the best way to demonstrate the Android solution, and then obviously the devices that could be running on are pretty broad, so you wouldn't necessarily have to have a device from Intermec or Honeywell or one of the others if you've already got an Android phone. Okay. So we've come to the end of our time. I want to be respectful of everyone's valuable time, so we'll end the webinar. There are a few questions that were left unanswered, but I've recorded those, and I will have somebody reach out to you to finish with your Q&A. Before I let you go, though, I do want to, again, thank our sponsors and partners, Honeywell and Blue Star. Without them, this webinar would not have been possible. And also I want to highlight the Honeywell 70E Black. This is one of our devices that we are utilizing to implement MobileConductor, DSC, and POD Android, and we're very happy with it. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, if you don't already have a contact manager, like Darrell said, my name is Georgia Brown. I am the Director of Marketing here at ExtenData, and I'd be happy to help you with any questions or needs that you have. So once again, thank you very much for your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.